My name is Morgan Crabtree. I'm from West Frankfort, and I grew up here, and I'm married to Tim Crabtree, and we have 4 boys. And my story and testimony truly begins back in my childhood when I grew up in a family who really only prayed with a catchy prayer at mealtime or at bedtime, went to church on holidays or special occasions. And I went to a private school until the age of 11. And from there, I went to public school, and I was the new kid. I didn't really fit in anywhere, and I had a hard time making friends and learning to trust people that I should. And so at that point, I was eventually invited to start attending a youth group in junior high, and I went with a friend there and went on a trip to Detroit, Michigan, and it was there that I gave my heart to Jesus, and it felt like he and I were the only ones in the room, and it was the realest thing that had happened in my life until that point. But I was just still struggling with getting my family to come along with me. It was July 11th, 2011, that my family was hit by somebody under the influence. And I was working at the time at Kmart, and a family friend ran in and said, "Morgan, there's been an accident." And she explained to me that my entire family was on the way to watch fireworks at the park, and somebody under the influence had hit them. My brothers were ejected from the truck onto the highway. We went outside to where the helicopter was, and one of my brothers was being put into the helicopter. And I can remember looking at him, and he was very unrecognizable from road rash on his face, and he kept saying, "Am I dying?" I wasn't sure if I'd ever see him again. And shortly after, my mother came, and she was about to be airlifted, and she didn't recognize me, and I certainly didn't recognize her because her nose was broken, and she had blood all over her face, and she just wasn't making any sense. And at that moment, I thought, I'm going to lose them all. My mother, my father, and my 3 brothers. One of my brothers had already been airlifted because they had thought he sustained the worst injuries, and that my dad and Drew were in Heron. A family friend who was on the scene of the accident and happened to follow up where the helicopters were drove me to Heron Hospital, where my dad was later airlifted. We had some family friends who were able to take me and Drew in St. Louis, and at this point, I had no idea if any of them were still alive. Because God's hand was on this the entire time. Even through all the ugly that was happening and the trauma that was happening, he placed people everywhere. He had someone in St. Louis that night, family friends who were just there visiting for the evening, and they were able to be at the hospital when my brothers were taken off the helicopter and placed in ICU. After the accident, we were in the hospital for what seemed like forever. The days kind of ran into each other, and my parents were in one hospital. My 2 brothers were in an ICU suite at Children's Hospital, and me and Drew would sleep in the hospital chairs. And when we finally went home, I can remember being told the yard had been taken care of, the flowers had been watered, the dogs had been fed and watered, and everything was so well taken care of. And I can remember thinking, who has done all this? You know, we haven't been here, and our family hasn't been here, and to find out that it was the outreach of First Baptist. And one thing that sticks out specifically is I can remember Brad Jovi coming in and putting his hands on my mom and my dad and asking if he could pray with us. And I just thought, this has never happened in this kitchen before. This real real prayer and real just surrender and coming to God in these moments of such desperate need. That was a turning point for my entire family. We all started going to church, and not only that, we established such a strong and healthy relationship with Jesus that we are still growing today. I would tell them that the complete surrender is worth it. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. You have an opportunity to come alongside people who will encourage and support you and sharpen you. There's nothing too big for Jesus. There's no mountain he can't move or that he doesn't want to move for you. I would encourage you to just go all in, to let go of things that may have had a hold on you at one time, to redefine yourself in a way that is true to God's standard and who he says you are, and to shed all the qualities about yourself that are man-made, that we've created, and be who God truly needs you to be. He's made sense in my life. He has connected the dots for me. And I know there are no coincidences. So in every detail of my life where things work together for the good, I know that it was him.